Live, a huge day of news. Let's get right to it. Adam Schefter, let's go to some top stories. We begin in Buffalo.
All right, Laura, James Cook's hold-in is over. It doesn't mean he has a new contract, but at least he's back out on the practice field for now. The two sides are continuing to talk. We'll see if they can figure out a deal, but it's hard to imagine that Cook goes back out there to practice without having some type of private hope that a deal would get done. Meanwhile, not a lot of hope in Washington, at least currently, that Terry McLaurin and the Commanders would get a deal done. They continue to struggle to make progress. He is a hold-in. He has not returned to practice, unlike James Cook, and there's a disagreement here on what he should be paid, and we'll see if they can figure it out. Meanwhile, the Packers quarterback Jordan Love is having surgery on his left thumb to repair a ligament issue. He'll miss the remainder of the preseason. The Packers believe he is expected to be ready for week 1, which is good news. And this is what's so funny. Jordan Love, everybody applauds him, plays, tears a ligament in his thumb. Oh, maybe you shouldn't be playing your quarterbacks in the preseason. But Joe Burrow wanted to be out there. Tua wanted to be out there. So this ignites that debate about whether or not you should or shouldn't be playing your players.
We have that debate like almost every year. We welcome you into NFL Live. So glad you're with us. You heard from Adam Schefter. Mina Kimes is here. Dan Orlovsky, you'll hear from Field Yates a little bit later on. We've got reporters across the way. You know, it's almost time for the season when we're all back together, so we're getting closer and closer.
Back together again.
We've done that a few times.
That was like a month ago.
That was July. Dan, we just heard this about Jordan Love. It's his non-throwing hand. Any concerns about the Packers quarterback for you?
There's always concerns when you're getting surgery 3 or so weeks away from the start of the season. Second year in a row that there's potential missed time for Jordan because of injury, so that has my attention. But I think while they're saying not a concern for like the regular season, there's two things that come to mind specifically to their offense. One, this is an offense that runs the football a ton out of the shotgun, and also with like some pretty unique ball handling just because of some of like the spinner action run that they get. So how comfortable is he going to be holding the ball with different hands and kind of in some unique handoff situations? And also they throw the ball a ton from underneath the center. He's very, very good at it. So is he capable of taking those snaps and executing some of their play action, you know, with even the off-hand ball fakes?
Under center play action is where my mind
Huge.
is with this, because it's a really important part of their offense. It's how they get to their explosives. Jordan Love was the best quarterback in football statistically in play action last year. Not Jared Goff, not Lamar Jackson. EP per dropback, it was Jordan Love. And about half of those reps were under play action. When he was in the gun, it was mostly, screens, quick hitters. Play action is under center, is how they got to their explosive plays out of play action. When you think about Matthew Golden's potential impact as a downfield threat in this offense, I think about Jordan Love turning his back to the defense, turning around, and then Golden using that 4.2 speed to get downfield. So that's something I would keep an eye on. I think they're really good at running the football out of the gun, but to your point, they do a lot of interesting handoffs. That's another thing I'd watch. But yeah, the play action is what I'm
like their play action being, I guess, dual purpose, because go right or left. He's capable of faking right and going to his left. When you're faking to the right, it's more of like that left-hand grip on the ball. So how is that going to feel? You mentioned Matthew Golden. It's also just taking reps away from the chemistry and the connection with the first rounder.
Especially as a downfield threat. It's one thing to have 4.2 speed. It's another to have that translate into the field. Xavier Worthy being a great example last year, where they didn't quite have the timing right on some of those downfield balls. So you really want to see that with Golden early on.
Rob Domofsky, our Packers reporter, recently reported just how good Matthew Golden has looked already. So you hope that they can get that chemistry, continue to go with it. Jordan Love, by the way, top 5 in the NFL last season in completions, 20-plus yards downfield, definitely a big part of the game. Let's get to some more news out of Rams camp. You see Matthew Stafford, well, he's on the sideline because he's not practicing again today. The Rams had expected maybe he would practice yesterday. That didn't happen. Not out there again. It is his back that's acting up. So Lindsey Theory is out at Rams camp. And Lindsey, what is the latest going on with Matthew Stafford today?
Laura, you mentioned it. Matthew Stafford was not on the practice field, not even in street clothes. In fact, the only sighting of the Rams quarterback was him walking out the front door of the facility with head athletic trainer Reggie Scott. Sean McVay was not available to talk to reporters today. That was not a scheduled day for McVay. But when asked yesterday if he anticipated Stafford to practice today, he said he was unsure because the plan, frankly, is going astray. McVay did express a hope that he would be able to participate in individual drills, but obviously that did not happen. So the Rams plan to integrate Stafford into training camp. Not exactly going toward plan, though. Talking with folks around the building, they still have a lot of confidence. They're expressing a lot of confidence that he is going to be available for week one. McVay, though, saying he's just going to take that one day at a time. There is something here on the Rams training camp facility at practice that is adjacent to the practice field that caught everyone's attention, though. That is the Immortal Chamber. Laura, get this. It is a chamber in an Airstream. It's red light therapy. I'm told it is purely a coincidence that this trailer is here at practice. It arrived yesterday morning. It is departing tonight. Players have been going in and out of it, including Matthew Stafford yesterday. And when they do come out, they say they feel restored and rejuvenated. That is only, again, I'm told, a coincidence, not here for Matthew Stafford's back, but does happen to kind of be something nice to have around right now.
Yeah, that lines up that, listen, I believe you're reporting, Lindsay, but it is a little suspect either way. I noticed the license plate on that Airstream said optimized. We like that. Adam, what else can you add on Stafford? We talked about this yesterday. There's some people who are not very concerned, but what exactly is going on?
Well, we have to get one of those trailers in here for us to go into.
I would love to feel like,
let's put one in the parking lot
in November. I would love to feel rejuvenated.
Right outside the
revitalized.
green room or something like that. It'd be very nice to do.
Dan would be in it more than anybody else.
Absolutely, playing country music in there while he's sitting in his amoral tube. Anyway, Matthew Stafford is in a situation where, here's the issue. They thought he'd be back at practice Monday. He wasn't. They thought he'd be back at practice maybe today. He's not. At some point, there has to be some level of concern that builds up, but it hasn't yet within the organization. They remain quietly and privately confident that he's going to be ready for the regular season opener against the Houston Texans. But now we are just over 3 weeks away. He's 37 years old. It's a backs linger. I think it's problematic, but again, I'm just telling you, they have not been concerned, and they have maintained all along that if there were a game this week, Matthew Stafford would be out there and he would be playing.
Can I jump in real quick and just ask a question? Is it more of a function thing or a pain tolerance thing?
Maybe a little bit of both. I don't know.
We know, I mean, geez, he's one of the toughest people, probably one of the toughest players in the NFL at pain tolerance, but why force that if you don't have to right now? Mina, you've certainly spent a ton of time around the Rams, once again, calling the preseason games, so cool. Let's live in a world where Stafford is actually healthy, available week one, right? What do you want to see out of this Rams offense?
I think this is important regardless, but especially week one against that Houston Texans pass rush. They got to be able to run the football well, and they have to get more explosive. We were talking about this before the show, running the ball. This was an issue last year. It's been an issue now for a few years. They have an efficient running game with Kyren Williams, who just got paid, but it's not explosive. Second worst in the NFL in terms of runs over 10 yards.
Where Jarquez Hunter comes in, though, right?
And potentially Blake Corum as well.
Yeah, looked good Saturday night.
They keep drafting these back. So I think, Adam, to your point, there's a couple of things I would be curious to see if we see more of. One is going with a more committee approach at running back. I know they just paid Kyren Williams, but sometimes you pay guys and then you try to keep them a little bit fresher by bringing in some young backs. Kyren Williams gets the most snaps of any running back in the NFL. Perhaps that might change. Again, they've drafted these two young backs who are potentially more, I think both Corum and Hunter could be more explosive. And then the other thing, I'm so curious to hear your thoughts on this, Sean McVay has not mixed up his personnel usage.
You need to put two tight ends.
And last year, right, Tyler Higbee was injured. We talked about Jarquez Hunter. Their second-round draft pick was Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon. Good blocking tight end. I know Sean McVay coveted him. I think he could take on some of those F roles that Cooper Kupp did as both a blocker and a receiver, or potentially two backs like Liam Cohen in Tampa, because now you have this stable of running backs. It feels like they have to mix things up to make this run game more explosive, because I think that's been kind of the missing piece in this Rams offense.
When you bring up Terrence Ferguson, when they drafted him, they compared him to Travis Kelce. Now, I don't know that anybody's dropping an album on Terrence Ferguson's podcast today, but they have big hopes for him in the future.
7 p.m., watch out. We're in mid-season form. Dan's already writing down notes after everything Mina says.
Well, I think the Rams will be a little bit of a microcosm for the NFL this year. I think we will have a year over the last 5 or 6 years, the lowest amount of 11 personnel use, meaning one tight end, 3 wide receivers on the field across the NFL. Because of the way that defenses now have adjusted the style of offenses, I think we're going to see bigger bodies on the field defensively to commit to stopping the run. And so then teams offensively will have to put on a bigger body to block. So the Rams being one of those teams I agree with. To your point, they were one of the worst offenses in the NFL with explosive runs last year. For a team that nobody wanted to play come to the playoffs, to your point, like 2nd and 7 sounds fun until you get to 3rd and 7. If you look at the teams that had the most amount of explosive runs, 4 of the top 5 were playoff teams. And obviously the Lions, Packers, Bucks, and Ravens. Then the Cardinals were a team that flirted with it if they were able to stay healthy. So I agree in totality, explosive runs. And I think the thing that's connected to that is, as great as Matthew was last year and that offensive line, they weren't good on 3rd and obvious pass situations. So like the stress to that offensive line when it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 is exacerbated. His lack of, I guess, movement at times. And then also that's where Devontae's going to come on huge because they didn't really have that complementary piece wide receiver-wise last year.
Puka Nacua, yeah. I mean, Puka Nacua was the most targeted receiver in the entire NFL when the Rams faced man coverage.
Right.
Having Adams there is that he is the X receiver they've been looking for. But, they really have 2 elite receivers, and that's it. So they should be using a lot of 12 personnel, I think. And the last time they ranked, by the way, in the top 10 explosive runs, the year they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, when it comes to explosive runs, like, I'm trying to think schematically how teams are getting to them. Like Philadelphia did it because they mauled people at the line of scrimmage. Baltimore, I bet you Baltimore's explosive runs were perimeter, but also Lamar-centric. Tampa is the one that I think.
Yeah, but I think they can execute a lot of the things that Tampa did. I really do.
Like you're not seeing a ton of the zone-centric teams get those explosive runs that much anymore. Green Bay's was probably a lot of their counter spinner as well. So
Atlanta was not explosive. That's most outside
chunk, but not like these 20-yarders that we're kind of intimating help you so much when it comes to offensive line, protection, 3rd and longs.
Yeah, the Liam Cohen element of that is really interesting if they do that. By the way, the Rams had the worst pass block win rate in the NFL on 3rd and long last season, to the point that you're making.
The worst?
The worst, yeah. Wow. There you go. All right, we're just getting started on NFL Live. Don't go anywhere. We got a fun show coming your way. Cam Hayward speaking out, making it clear he wants to get paid. Adam's going to tell us about the drama that's brewing down in Pittsburgh. That's next. Plus, fantasy football's back. Field Yates is here to reveal his top 5 fantasy picks. You don't want to miss which player he thinks is primed for a big breakout season. See the full list when we return. Fun started last night on ESPN. Look at this. Over 1 million people signing up right now. It's still going. I mean, that's active. That could be you right there. 90. Oh, whoa. We just had a big jump. All right. I'm not going to try to count the numbers.
We don't do math here. Yeah, we do football.
I really do not do math. Download the ESPN Fantasy app or sign up at ESPN.com/FFL. All right, Field is joining us now. Let's go through your top 5 players for PPR leagues this season. Give it to us.
Yeah, Laura, the number one question I get asked during the offseason is who would you take if you had the number 1 pick in a draft? I'm giving you the 5 guys that I would consider to some degree too much more so than the rest. Number 5 is Jahmyr Gibbs, Lions running back, who, if David Montgomery wasn't on the field, I would tell you Jahmyr Gibbs is the most valuable player in fantasy. He had 20 touchdowns last season. We talk about players that can do damage in the passing game as a running back. He might be the most versatile pass-catching running back in the entire league, and I swear he plays the game at a different speed than the rest of the NFL. This guy is a very special player. Number 4, Saquon Barkley. You heard him? He was incredible last year. He didn't even play in Week 18, and he nearly led all running backs in fantasy points scored for the course of the season. He had over 2,000 rushing yards. The Eagles have had a top 5 rusher in 3 straight seasons, Laura. It's been a different back each of those 3 years. To take nothing away from Saquon, I also want to note it's the best offensive line and running game in the entire NFL. Jalen Hurts, though, of course, those tush pushes kind of hurt Saquon a little bit. Justin Jefferson, arguably the best receiver in the NFL. Hasn't practiced much during training camp because of this hamstring injury. One thing we've learned about Justin Jefferson, doesn't matter who's throwing the football. This guy's gotten it done with, of course, Kirk Cousins, last year Sam Darnold. The year prior to that, a bunch of different quarterbacks. He's a very, very good bet for close to 100 catches, maybe pushing 1,500 receiving yards and 10 receiving touchdowns. One of the best non-quarterbacks in the entire league. Here are the 2 guys that matter the most at number 1. Bijan Robinson, who, of course, last year was just remarkable for the Falcons, his 2nd season. He's the best bet of any running back to stay healthy, be top 5 in total opportunities, be a big factor in the passing game. He had 61 catches last year, and over his last 12 games, in 10 of them, he had 20 or more fantasy points. Huge upside for Bijan. Last but certainly not least, number 1 overall is Jamar Chase. Doesn't need much of an explanation, Laura, but he was the Triple Crown winner last season. He averaged over 100 receiving yards per game. This guy could have scored over 80 fewer fantasy points last year and still been the highest scoring wide receiver in the league. Of course, the Bengals, a lot of defensive woes. That should only force more shootouts. That's a good thing for the value of Jamar Chase.
I love it. You got it right here, people. This is who you should draft. And I hope for all of you at home that you get the first overall pick. There's somebody on our set that just found out they got the 13th overall pick, and that person's trying to figure out what he's going to do with it. But he already has a plan. Anyway, maybe
America can
Adam
guess
Schefter.
who it
is. Exactly. It might be Adam. Oh, Adam. He's got a plan, though.
You want to pick one so bad.
Agonizing over it. All right, and we'll see more of you on the Fantasy Marathon.
I'll be there.
It's still ongoing, and in this show
then.
as well. Here's something new on NFL Live. We want to point this out to you. From our Steelers reporter, Brooke Pryor, Aaron Rodgers looked like he got stepped on during a team period, ended up getting a bag of ice wrapped around his lower leg, but Brooke added that it was removed for an ace bandage, and Rodgers later returned to drills. So we'll keep an eye on it, but seems like he's okay. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, Cam Hayward is looking for a new contract. He's currently holding in at Steelers camp, and we're going to wait and see what ends up happening with Cam Hayward, friend of the show, by the way. Here's more from Hayward himself on Monday.
It's hard for me to, after the year I've had, to really justify playing at the number I'm playing at. I understand I signed a contract last year, but to be completely honest with you, when I signed that, I told him, when I have an all-pro year, expect me to come back. And you can look at the contract and see what it was, but I think everybody kind of giggled a little bit, but in my heads, I used it as motivation to go out there and prove it.
Over the last 5 seasons, Cam Hayward has 32.5 sacks when lined up at defensive tackle, third most in the NFL. The two guys he trails, Quinnen Williams and DeForest Buckner, have an average salary per year of at least $23 million, nearly $10 million more than Hayward in 2025. So those numbers certainly point to a pay increase. Adam, what are you hearing about Hayward's situation?
Well, this is interesting because it went all through camp where essentially he's having a hold-in that doesn't wind up getting reported because he's out on the practice field running around, staying in shape, but not practicing in team drills, and he still hasn't practiced in team drills. He's 36 years old. He's scheduled to make $14.75 million. He's a longtime defensive captain, one of the most respected players in the league. He's a Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, and he wants to cash in now because he knows, frankly, that there aren't many years left in his career. And I think you add in this. Pittsburgh, this offseason, has gone out of its way to take care of any number of players from outside and inside the organization. DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, Darius Slay, and, of course, TJ Watt. So all these players that have had nothing to do with Pittsburgh's prior success got paid. TJ Watt got paid. And here's a player who feels like he's meant an awful lot to this team who hasn't gotten paid. And the two sides have not bridged any of their differences, and it doesn't seem like the Steelers want to pay him right now.
Cam's like, excuse me, what about me?
Can I clip that off and send it to the Steelers GM? That's what Cam's thinking.
Hello, he might. You never know. He pays attention. I mean, we just showed those numbers, Mina, but how important is Hayward to the Steelers defense?
I mean, it goes beyond him being, a pillar of the organization, a leader. He's one of the best defensive players in the NFL. He was dominant last year. I gave him a Defensive Player of the Year vote. He was first amongst defensive tackles in tackles, run stops, led every defensive player in batted passes, so many, 6 in pressures. And it's the run defense that concerns me if he misses time because they have a lot of depth in terms of pass rushers.
Right.
They drafted Derek Harmon out of Oregon. So disruptive rushing the passer. He can't stop the run like Cam Hayward did last year. And run defense, as you and I have talked about, is a concern we have, particularly
when teams
against
motion against them.
There's your clip.
Yeah.
Not mine. I give you factual information. Mina waiting with her opinion. So there's your clip.
Just clip the whole thing.
This one feels like it feels a little Terry McLaurin-like to me. And I know the off seasons were different. I'm aware of that.
No, I
but it just feels like one of those situations going, this is the one that you want to like.
Right. It's like the pillar of the organization guy that the locker room loves.
And I'm not telling everybody it's easy. I don't envy the general managers and the way the cap people have to figure it out. But to Schefter's point, for an organization that waited months for Aaron and then paid a lot of other players, essentially going all in for 1 year, to then get to this point on the 12th of August and not pay Cam Hayward, a guy who, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2 years ago after he got hurt and the contract was up in the air, said, well, I have to kind of like prove myself to them again because it's important for me to be healthy and show them my value. He does that. This one feels very similar to Terry, where I'm like, why are we making this noise going into a season that has such high expectation?
Adam said something that worried me, that it feels like the team is not feeling like they want to pay him. There's not appetite there.
Not right now.
Yeah.
The two sides have not had very many discussions about it, and the Steelers have not had a huge appetite to award him right now, and we'll see how this transpires as the season gets closer.
The problem for them is when him and Benton are on the field, that's a really good duo, like him and Keanu Benton. But then if he's not on the field, it's like Loudermilk's a nice player, but he's not. I mean, Black.
Cam Hayward,
He's a rookie, so it's not Cam Hayward.
All right, still ahead. We got a lot more coming your way. You don't want to miss this. After a preseason injury scare, Anthony Richardson fighting to keep the Colts starting quarterback job. Mina thinks his chances could be a little dicey here. She's going to explain on NFL Live. Let's hear from Jerry Jones talking about the Cowboys franchise shaping pop culture yesterday.
I do believe if we're not being looked at, then I'll do my part to get us looked at. The Cowboys are a soap opera, 365
The
days.
screening will begin
When it gets slow,
momentarily.
I'll stir it up.
Please take your
And
seats.
so it's wonderful to have the great athletes, have the great players. But there's something more there. There's sizzle, there's emotion. And if you will, there's controversy. That controversy is good stuff in terms of keeping and having people's attention.
I can't believe he actually said that.
I feel bad for Cowboys fans.
I'm at that point too.
Yeah,
the
that's
fans,
right.
the
Yeah,
players.
the fans.
The players I feel bad for. Like, I think the coaching staff and the
I
scouting
owe
staff,
Dak
they signed
Prescott.
up for it,
I
right?
owe Dak Prescott an apology, man.
I know, seriously.
The
man.
quarterback
Like,
of the
that's
team.
You
every
know
single
who's
day.
benefited from that attitude? Dak Prescott, because the
true.
drama
Yeah.
against the players paid
Yeah.
more and more. So.
I mean, but I think at some point the players also want to win, and truly have the person in place putting winning at the most important thing.
It's just a lot. There's no other team that has this. Go ahead, Field.
What's going through the brain right there? Do you think is this camera actually rolling right
He
now?
literally
Like,
said,
is
I
he
know, oh my
like-
God, he
I do
admitted.
most, if not all, the things I do are just for attention.
It's unbelievable.
Do you know what the most valuable franchise in?
Yeah, it's the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
No,
well,
but
let's stay with the
we're never going to
Cowboys.
sell it.
for some
The Eagles
more.
are winning,
Do
and
you
they're
know
pretty
who hasn't
valuable.
won? Who hasn't been to the NFC Championship game in 30 years?
Eagles
About
are-
them.
Cowboys.
How about them?
We had a trivia question about this earlier that you may see on social media later. All right, let's stay with the Cowboys for some top stories. Adam, any movement on Micah Parsons getting a new deal?
Well, Laura, Jerry Jones like controversy. He says it's good stuff, so here's some good stuff for you. The Cowboys and Micah Parsons still have not spoken about a new contract. The season opens 3 weeks from Thursday night. You want controversy? How controversial will it be if Micah Parsons continues to feel back tightness that's held him out of the games or practices and prevents him from playing in the opener? That would be quite a controversy. Jerry might not like that one, though. We'll see. Jordan Love underwent thumb surgery today to repair a ligament issue that he suffered in the Packers' opening preseason game. Probably not going to play again in this preseason. They do expect that he'll be back for the regular season opener, and they'll have him back in the lineup then, but again, he's going to miss some reps here this summer. And yesterday, the 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan said he's not expecting Brandon Ayuk back until roughly week 6. He said maybe week 5, maybe week 10.
What range?
But 6 is usually his range to expect for somebody who tore his ACL and his MCL in week 7 last season, a devastating, significant knee injury that he's still trying to come back from. And the 49ers know that they're going to be without Brandon Ayuk for the beginning part of the season at the very least.
Man, yeah, they're dealing with some more injuries than they'd like to be dealing with, right? You may have seen it flash on the screen. Some more news we're going to talk to right now. Anthony Richardson injured his finger during the Colts' first preseason game Thursday. But Daniel Jones is there too, of course. Richardson did return to practice on Saturday, but there's a lot going on here, right? Adam, where does this quarterback competition stand now?
Well, nobody's pulled out in front yet. Daniel Jones is going to get the start this week. Anthony Richardson was quick to return to practice, and all accounts were that up until he got hurt on this particular play in the Ravens game that he had looked good during practice. And then, of course, he sustained the pinky injury, but now he is back. Daniel Jones will get along with. I think there are people that still think that Daniel Jones, with the money they pay him, still may have the inside track on this job, but I don't think they've decided anything, and this job is still there to be won.
I think it's the most difficult quarterback situation in the NFL right now. Because while it's one play, the sack and the injury, it's the example of, and I think it makes the coaches say, can we trust you?
Yeah.
Can we trust you? That was a 2nd and 10 play call. And I'm not telling everybody like this, it's unbelievably easy because he's got to see both sides. But him only looking left tells me he only thinks left is a problem. And the right was a problem as well. And so as the coaches, you're sitting there going, okay, can we trust you? Also, when you watch the tape and you go, man, A.D. Mitchell looked good. Man, Tyler Warren, he looked good. So it's not only like the trust of handling that stuff, it's the trust of like, we got some really nice perimeter players. I need a quarterback to get him the football. But then the flip side is if you don't trust Anthony Richardson enough to do that, are you giving up on him? Like, are you giving up on him because he needs reps at a abundant rate?
Number 4 overall pick.
I know, this is so frustrating, right? He makes mistakes like that because he's inexperienced, but then he gets hurt, so he has to stay inexperienced. He's not getting enough reps, and it's like this vicious cycle. And I think if you're a Colts fan, you're really disappointed because with Anthony Richardson, there's excitement. There's at least the possibility of a ceiling.
And there is some growth. There is some development.
We're hearing all about
Well,
that.
you're talking about all those things, but he's not able to put it together and build that momentum, sustain momentum that he can carry on through a full preseason to where he proves he can be the starting guy. He looks like he can, then he gets hurt. He looks like he can, something happens. Needs a continuous period, hasn't gotten it.
And the alternative is Daniel Jones, who, I think watching him in this game, you saw the floor is a lot higher than Anthony Richardson, but the ceiling is lower too. And I thought that was like, he looked like a veteran quarterback. He executed Shane Steichen's offense well. You saw why they brought him in. Oh, he's accurate on these RPOs, very RPO heavy offense. Oh, you can use him as a scrambler. Oh, he does some nice things throwing on the run. But then you also saw some bouts of inaccuracy. He doesn't throw the ball downfield as well. So, if you're the Colts, at least the offense can be functional with him, but is that what you want out of this season?
I just want to point out, in cases like this, it's usually instructive to follow the money. They paid Daniel Jones more than the Pittsburgh Steelers are paying Aaron Rodgers this season. They're paying him about $14 million. They're paying him starting caliber money, and I think that they are doing that because they are counting on him at some point, thinking that he's going to have to be their starter at some
You
point.
guys brought this up. Mina said it really well. Like, you wonder if it'd be different if they didn't have such good skill position players. They're thinking, like, maybe we just need a distributor. Let's talk about one of those, Field. Jonathan Taylor, as we're got a little fantasy football theme here with our marathon going on. What's the potential impact on him with the quarterback competition and maybe even just like inconsistent play at quarterback?
Yeah, if you're drafting Jonathan Taylor, you're hoping that Daniel Jones wins the job for 2 specific reasons. When you have a running quarterback that typically neutralizes throws to the running backs, you see it in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts. You saw it last year in Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson under center. Jonathan Taylor could be used similar to Derrick Henry, which is carry the ball a ton but not get that same level of target share that maybe a guy like a Saquon Barkley or Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson gets. Secondly, there's one thing Anthony Richardson has done pretty effectively in the first 2 seasons of his career. Run specifically near the goal line, right? Like some of the stuff they can do, like those are just really easy money opportunities for him. If you're Jonathan Taylor, the difference between, let's call it 7 goal-to-go carries and 10 goal-to-go carries, again, in the world of fantasy football, might be the 5th best running back in fantasy as opposed to the 8th best running back in fantasy. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that Daniel Jones solves all the issues for the Colts offense or for Jonathan Taylor himself, but if I draft Jonathan Taylor early, it's going to have to be early, by the way. You're hoping for Jones under center.
Really interesting. And Jonathan Taylor, by the way, projected to score the 6th most fantasy points among running backs. That's according to ESPN's Mike Clay. Keep that in mind if he's on your board. Let's do some quick reads on preseason performances that stood out. Dan, you're first. Who'd you like so far?
Man, Calvin Ridley looked great, and his connection with Cam Ward, specifically some of the stuff downfield, looked fantastic. Calvin Ridley has been one of the best route runners in the NFL, but maybe hasn't gotten the notoriety because obviously the year away and the quarterback play has been up and down. Even with that quarterback play being up and for the most part down, it's back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Imagine if Cam Ward plays the way that he should as the number 1 pick. Calvin Ridley could sniff 12 to 1,300 yards in this offense. His connection with Cam Ward's big. I thought he looked awesome.
I was extremely excited to see Tedero McMillan on the field because he looked exactly as advertised. You saw on this catch the body control and hands that we saw in college that made him the 8th overall pick. And then I love that right after that, they went to him with an in-breaker. I think that has to be a huge part of his route tree in this offense. He uses that big frame to box out defenders, present a friendly target to Bryce Young. To me, that connection also looks good, really good early on. And if he is the X receiver you know he can be in this offense, I love the role that everyone else gets to play.
Oh, I'm excited about him. All right, we got more coming your way. Field is back with more. All eyes on the league's newest rookies. Don't leave Field. We're going to tell you which rookies are stealing the spotlight and who's poised to make an impact right away. That's when we come back. We already just heard about Ted McMillan. There's so many more that have caught our attention. I think the preseason's been a lot of fun seeing these rookies. What?
No, something else.
Can you guys stop? I was trying to.
We're little kids over here. Inside jokes.
Everywhere you look, things are getting.
Or sign up at ESPN.com/FFL. All right, every year there are a number of impact rookies in fantasy. We've got some potential names to know for you. Field, start us off. What are you expecting from Ashton Jeanty this season?
Yeah, Laura, think back to Saquon Barkley as a rookie back in 2018. Even last year, we had some monster performances from quarterbacks. You may have heard of Jaden Daniels, some great receivers as well. This upcoming season, though, it's all about this man right here. Ashton Jeanty, the number 6 overall pick in the real draft media, who might be the 6th overall pick in some fantasy drafts this year. As right now, we're currently seeing him go only behind the likes of Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, and of course, Bijan Robinson. Everybody knows how great of a runner he is. He put up literally Barry Sanders-type numbers in college last season. 2 years ago, he led the FBS in running back receiving yards. He is a legitimate 3-down back for the Raiders.
-1 yard in his preseason debut. I'm not overreacting. I'm not panicking, and that is not about Ashton Jeanty, but it does give me a little bit of concern about the Raiders' offensive line. They took out 2 of their starters for his second series. I do want to point that out. But if I had one area of concern with the Raiders' offense as a whole, it is that offensive line, which was not good last year. They're hoping a reshuffled group improves.
All right, the next rookie we're watching, Travion Henderson. Field, what's the outlook for him?
He's explosive, Laura. We saw it on the very first play of Patriots preseason. He took a 100-yard kickoff return back for a touchdown. He was the lightning to Quinshon Judkins Thunder at Ohio State last year. He was at Ohio State for 4 seasons. We know he's a good player, Dan, but he was at his best when he was sharing time with the guy who could kind of bring the power between the tackles. This guy out in space, this guy as a receiver in the passing game is going to be a real weapon for an offense that was dead last season in explosive plays, Dan. I think it's a matter of time before he becomes the Patriots leader in running back touches weekly.
Yeah, it's Montgomery and Gibbs in Detroit. Maybe it's a little bit of Dillon and Aaron Jones in Green Bay from years ago because Ramondre Stevenson is still there. Good back. Physical back. Needs to get back to what he was production-wise maybe 2 years ago. I think that comes with the offensive line. But I do think the most interesting part is how they use both of those guys. The speed, the juice, the explosive element. Also, he's probably going to be as good as Kyron Williams when it comes to a pass-protecting back for this offense, which would be a massive deal for Drake May.
Finally, the Chargers drafted Omarion Hampton. Phil, we know Jim Harbaugh loves to run it. What does that mean for Hampton?
This guy should be very, very busy this year, Laura. Now, the offensive line has already been banged up with the loss of Rashawn Slater, but this past couple of seasons at North Carolina, back-to-back years of 1,500-plus total yards for Omarion Hampton, 6'2", 221 pounds with a 4.45 40. He is a physical freak. That much is for sure. To me, the floor is pretty obvious. He's going to be a very busy man, even if Najee Harris is back on the field, because he's a 22nd pick. He's a better player than Najee. The question is the ceiling. Are they going to unlock him enough as a receiver, which hasn't traditionally been a staple of a Greg Roman-led offense, to unlock a top 8 or 10 back? Still a very strong RB2 at worst this season.
And he's certainly capable of catching the ball, and we don't know exactly how Najee Harris is recovering, whether he's going to be acclimated to the offense, lots of questions. So it looks like for a head coach who likes to run the football as much as Jim Harbaugh does, Omarion Hampton would seem to be the bell cow in that offense. It would seem to be on track to have a huge year. And with that offensive line, even without Rashawn Slater, they still should be pretty good to get him enough yards and enough productivity to make him challenge for the Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Good enough for the 13th pick in the draft, potentially? In case you hypothetically owned it in a 16-team
Not
league?
13.
No, 13.
Not
That's
13.
not who he's going with. He does
Not
have the
13.
13th pick.
Not 13.
All right, now listen, you guys don't have to go home, but you have to get out of here because you're going to the 5 p.m. Sports Center. So you will see them on ESPN right after this, but we have to say goodbye to both of you. It was great having you, though.
Great having you here.
Yeah.
And we'll watch you all night on the Fantasy Marathon, too. Okay, still ahead. 5. The Giants have new quarterbacks in the mix, but Dan says there's a bigger concern on offense that's flying under the radar. He's going to explain that next. You do not want to miss it. We're also going to see some footage from Jets and Giants joint practice. That's next.